Hey, Dave Dynasty here for the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You know, I've spent years in the wrestling business, from wrestler to promoter, and now as the host of the Dave Dynasty Show. To be successful in the wrestling business, solid training from experienced instructors is mandatory if you're going to make it today. And that's what you'll get at the Tommy Wildfire Ridge School of Wrestling. Not only instruction from former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Wildfire Ridge, but many other big-name wrestlers, managers, and referees. And it gets better. Tommy Wildfire Ridge School of Wrestling will provide in-ring training and personal character training with all practices recorded on high-definition cameras. They have over 2 tons of weightlifting equipment and tanning beds located in an indoor sports facility that will host monthly wrestling events, bringing in names big enough to ensure that you, as a beginning student, will get seen. This school has it all. For anyone interested in the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling, call 336-862-5528 today. Once again, that is 336-862-5528. Ask for Chris, and you will immediately be on your way to your career in the wrestling business. Once again, call Chris at the Tommy Wildfire Ridge School of Wrestling at 336-862-5528. Welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show, the podcast that is bringing positivity back to pro wrestling and helping to preserve and promote the history of Midwest professional wrestling. And now, here's your host, Dave Dynasty. Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. This is your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us and listening and supporting however you do, whether it's an iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube, or one of the many other podcast app options out there. We're on all of them, pretty much, I believe. But whichever way you do, please make sure you subscribe, like, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. We appreciate your support. We appreciate all of you that have been watching our classic episodes of WWA television on YouTube. Getting lots of views on that. Great stuff. It's our mission to help preserve, share, and promote this stuff and show the world how great it is. There will be more coming, so keep watch on that. Thank you again to our sponsor, the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling. Give them a call if you are interested and serious about receiving proper training to embark on your wrestling career. Great stuff. They open August 5th, so check them out. How you guys doing? I'm doing good. Deep into the bowels of summer here, having a good time. Hopefully everybody had a fine, swell Independence Day or Canada Day slightly before, whatever. It's all good. We got a great interview today. Midwest wrestling legend and promoter Diamond Dan Garza's on. Great interview. Dan's one of the first guys, him and his shows, that I saw on the independent circuit years ago when I started to realize that there was independent wrestling in my area. Great stuff. Hey, if you follow us on social media, and you should follow us on social media, go to davedynasty.com. There's links there for everything. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. We're active on all of those, so check those out and follow us. But you have seen our new shirt. A few weeks ago, we did a poll asking you guys what we should call ourselves as Midwest wrestling fans. You know, as a collective, as a family, as a unit, as a community. And the name Midwest Express won. So we now have the official Dave Dynasty Show Midwest Express T-shirts. These are cool looking shirts. Go and support us at Pro Wrestling Tees and order one of those shirts. It's kind of Not even a Dave Dynasty Show specific type shirt. It's one of those things that you can buy and you can wear to wrestling events. You can wear wherever you go, whatever you do, to show that you support independent wrestling, especially in the Midwest. So if you're from the Midwest, or even if you're not, just a fan of Midwest wrestlers, order one of those shirts. And if you're a wrestler, hey, buy one. Get out there, rep them. You're out there working the roads. Show everybody that, man, there's some good stuff happening here in the Midwest, and that we're proud of what's going on and the wrestlers and the product coming out of this area. So speaking of, did you catch? We're tinkering a little bit. We got a new little intro, a little more specific and in line with our show, right? It's the song kind of reminiscent. I guess it's not reminiscent. It is the song from some of the old WWA television. It's one of those songs that some of us hear that, and you think of the WWA. You think of Dick the Bruiser, that, and obviously I also think of Heart Barracuda, which came later. But so we decided to use that music kind of as our opening to get us more in line with that feel of Midwest wrestling and Midwest support that we give. That's our mission. That's what we are, right? We're here to bring a positive spin on pro wrestling and have fun, because that's right. It's wrestling. It's supposed to be fun, but we're also here to support and promote and everything, the Midwest wrestling, particularly here in Indiana. That's where I'm from, but Midwest and all. So, we've got a couple cool things. I mean, these are amazing things that we're working on here at the Dave Dynasty Show, and we're very close to finalizing these things, and we'll be making some announcements on social media and on future podcast episodes, so stay tuned for those. Hoping at least one of them we will definitely be announcing next week. We just have to wait for the official word that we can announce it. But while you're out there supporting those that support us, also check out a new wrestling apparel line, Collar and Elbow. You check out all of our social media again. There are links. DaveDynasty.com, there'll be a link. And order their shirt. There's some cool shirts. The one that I like the most, they're all great, but the one that I wear the most and that I like is the support your local wrestler. Great shirt. You can, again, check our social media. Put some pictures up of that shirt. Great stuff. So get out there. Buy some shirts from them. Support Collar and Elbow, because they're supporting Dave Dynasty Show, and we appreciate that. But let's get to it, right? You're all here. You're not here to hear my opening ramble so much, but or maybe you are. And if you are, thanks. Hey, I appreciate that. But let's get to the interview, right? Let's hear from Diamond Dan Garza, and we're going to take a break, hear from a sponsor, and we will be back with that interview. What do you say, Dick the Bruiser?
We'll be right back.
Hey, thank you for supporting our sponsors here on the Dave Dynasty Show, including 123 Pins. Visit them at 123pins.us for a great selection of pins, enamel stickers, mugs, hats, shirts, you name it, they have it for the wrestling and pop culture fan. And if you go and place an order and enter the promo code DAVE, D-A-V-E, you receive 25% off your order. So go visit our sponsor, 123 Pins, at 123pins.us.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with yet again a fantastic, a wonderful, most amazing, the Diamond Dan Garza. How are we doing today?
Great.
All right, and so let's go ahead and get on into this. So just kind of a first question to go ahead and get the ball rolling here. Where are you from, Dan?
I'm actually born in Greenfield, Indiana, not too far from Indianapolis, if you're not familiar. Lived there probably till early 20s, moved to Indianapolis, and been here ever since.
Absolutely. So then what was it like growing up in Greenfield and Indianapolis? Do you play any sports?
Yeah, actually in middle school and high school I did wrestle. Played baseball from the age about 6 until about 15, 16 through Little League. And actually did fairly well, played on a lot of all-star teams. When I got into high school, unfortunately took the wrong route and got a job and gave all that up so I could work. but in the long run, it worked out for me. But not a big guy at that time, so baseball fit in, and wrestling fit in just fine for me. So wrestled at 132 at that time. Wish I was still that weight, but that's not going to happen anymore. But had a great time living in Greenfield, little slow town at that time. Just your typical small town. And here in Indianapolis, enjoy it. Everything's close, and whatever you want to do is nearby.
Absolutely. So you kind of talked a little bit about some of the things you used to do, including wrestling. But when was it that you really got into like professional wrestling? WWF, WWA, all that good stuff.
Well, I mean, as a kid, we always watched Dick the Bruiser. I mean, whether it was late at night, usually you watched Cemetery and then wrestling. Sometimes they ran on Sunday mornings, just depend on the TV show. But grew up with the Dick the Bruiser's WWA wrestling. As a kid, we always enjoyed watching that, and then later, WCW 605 Saturday night, watched that. AWA, and of course WWF at that time when it came in and took over pretty much all the territories. So enjoyed watching that. Always a big wrestling fan. Thought at some point I would love to get into it. When I first thought about it, at my size, I was probably 175 then, and those guys were 300 pounds. I figured if I got in, I'd at least be a referee, but got trained by Mr. Electricity Steve Regal, and then actually just never really refereed and started into wrestling.
Absolutely. So was there like a moment when you were younger when you just kind of knew that wrestling was what you wanted to do? So it definitely sounds like you kind of guided the path a little bit there, loving wrestling, watching it. But was there a moment you're just like, I do want to wrestle, this is something I want to be a part of the business?
I think it's probably, WWA was great, watching Dick the Bruiser and all my favorites on there. But then when NWA at that time, WCW, was on TBS, just seeing guys like Ric Flair and the excitement that they brought to it, the different style, and the colorful interviews, that really made me look into it and want to do it at that time. And, of course, at that time, you had to know somebody to get into wrestling. I started in actually 1987 training with Mr. Electricity Steve Regal. So it's not something that you could just say, hey, I want to get into. You either had to know somebody. At that time, they put an ad in the Indianapolis Star. So I talked to a buddy of mine, Pitbull Bragg Rule, into training with me. And that's where I met T.J. Powers, Don Basher, at that time Indiana Kid, Quicksilver. A lot of the guys got started all at the same school. We trained in Muncie for a little bit, and then later on in Westfield, and trained pretty much every weekend for 6-8 months until we had our first show, which was at Lawrence Central High School. And then from there, we kind of started our own promotions, as there wasn't, other than Dick the Bruiser, and he was slowed down at that time, there wasn't really any promotions going on in Indiana.
Certainly. So then when was it that you, so we've kind of tread the path for the first part of your life as well as the first part of your career. So when was it that you actually made your first debut, though?
It was actually, I think, still about November '87 at the Lawrence Central High School show. It was in the Battle Royal, as most trainees get into, start with the Battle Royal. Then we had shows in Greenfield, all over Indianapolis. So, 88 was probably a year where we had a bunch of different shows all over Indiana and getting acquainted with other wrestlers that were available. We kind of set up our own promotion. It was MWA. I think Don Basher kind of started his own at IWF, I think Indiana Wrestling Federation. There was John Osborne out of Kokomo that ran shows. So we kind of worked a little bit of a circuit, doing shows on the weekend mainly.
Absolutely. So then, were these kind of like, did these help you eventually gain the popularity that you were getting, or was that kind of just the beginning steps of that?
Well, that's just kind of I guess, the beginning steps. I mean, at that time, there was no internet. I mean, people knew about you. They heard whether you were good or you weren't any good wrestling, whether you put on a good show or not, and that's how the promoters, called and booked you. It wasn't they got a chance to see a video on YouTube. I mean, it was more of word of mouth and actually seeing you on the show and booking you to come back. So, I mean, if we had the internet then, who knows? But it was a little harder, to get your name out there at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So then kind of also just about the beginnings of your career. I know a lot of times when wrestlers start, they go through, specific phases of their character. They make changes, they make additions. So were you known as Diamond Dan Garza from the very beginning?
Yeah, it started out that way, and then just shortened it to Diamond Dan. Actually, if you had to look me up, and a couple of people did in the phone book, you get a few phone calls, and then you quit putting your last name on the posters, so they don't do that. But, yeah, that's what it was. I did also wrestle under a mask. There's time I'd worked twice a show, one as Diamond Dan and one as El Diablo. So I enjoyed doing both. Of course, under the mask, you can kind of get away with more and do different things. So it's two different styles, but I enjoyed them both.
Yeah, certainly.
Plus, it helped to get booked more.
Get a little extra cash from just putting a mask on, right?
Yeah, well, what little cash there was, but yeah, a little cash.
So then, definitely, we've kind of covered your early career. So, do you have any other good stories or matches, or perhaps any opponents from your early career that were kind of noticeable for you that stick out in your mind?
Well, I mean, Quicksilver, Keith Goldsby, was one of the ones in the training class. We got along well. At that time, he was pretty much an established referee, and a wrestler. But he had connections in Ohio and Illinois. So he took me to a bunch of shows, helped me meet different people, get on different shows. So he's probably the one person that I've wrestled the most, whether it's Diamond Dan or as El Diablo or whatever, and tagged up with as a part of a tag team, Fire and Ice. So, I mean, he's one that was out there that really helped me out, get established, have a ton of great matches, don't even have to, talk what we were going to do, pretty much knew each other. So it made a big difference. But, I mean, there's a lot of different wrestlers around here that, were good and helped have great matches in the ring. One time I went to Niles, Michigan, and for Dick the Bruiser. It's one of his last shows that he had. The referee couldn't make it, so I went as Kim Goldsby, who was the referee, which was Keith's brother, Quicksilver's brother. At that time, they had the commission there, so I had to lie to them and tell them I was Kim Goldsby. And looking at me, I looked nothing like a Goldsby, but it worked, and refereed the whole show for Dick the Bruiser. Dick was in the main event, working Jimmy Valiant, and of course, me being fairly new at that time, I was trying to do a good job and impress him and everything else. He comes out and Dick comes out wearing a weight belt. And, me and being the referee, they tell him he had to take it off before the match, blah, blah, blah. And he kept telling me, no, no, no. And I'm telling him, yeah, you got to take it off. And finally, he just told me, God damn it, boy, I got to wear it because my back hurts. So I learned to just kind of let him do whatever he wants to do, and just continued reffing the match. I think Leon Spinks was in his corner at that time. Dick used him on some of his last shows. And after that was going to be used as a wrestler for Dick, but as you know, he went down to Florida and unfortunately passed away working out with weight still at his age, and just, he was an icon here in Indianapolis. That's all plus, around the world, but mainly here in Indianapolis. So it was tough for everybody here to take when he did pass away.
Certainly. I would imagine it would be. He was definitely, I mean, he was a legend in of himself, and I mean, just there is so much that revolves around him. So absolutely, that was a tremendous hit, I think, to the wrestling community. But
it was. I mean, people have different opinions. I mean, the fans, of course, always loved Dick. As a wrestler, I mean, there was always stories that you hear that weren't too happy because lack of a big payday or a push or the way the people were treated. So, I mean, there's two sides to the story, but, just try to remember as a fan and, how much everybody loved him. That's what I try to do anyway.
Yeah, certainly. So definitely, your early career sounded pretty awesome. I mean, just to say at least. I mean, even as just an early career, I think that was probably pretty exciting for you. But of course, you did, eventually go on to, bigger things. You actually went to do more things and even do more than just wrestle. You did a lot of work for WCW as well.
Yeah, I mean, and I have Rip Rogers to thank for that. I mean, I known Rip before that and was on several shows with him, but, he normally took guys down to WCW, and they used them, of course, as talent enhancement, whatever term you want to use. I prefer talent enhancement. So I was fortunate to go down there with him on several occasions and wrestled Cactus Jack. Well, first off, it was Terry Taylor, then Cactus Jack, and then trying to think who else here. Skipping my mind here. But had 3 matches there, so I mean, and then it was in Dothan, Alabama, and was on a couple other shows that wasn't used for TV, but was fortunate enough to go to Rick Rude. There we go. I don't know why I skipped my mind, but Ravishing Rick Rude. So I was fortunate enough to go down there and have the opportunity to be on TV. There was a group of us that loaded up in the car, went down to Memphis, wrestled on Memphis Live TV. In the morning, we drove all night, got there, wrestled in the morning, and then drove back and made, I think, a whopping $25 a piece. But, I wouldn't have traded that for the world because it was an experience and, got to go down there and wrestle their heavyweight champion at their time. But, of course, it was still just, talent enhancement, TV stuff. So, but we enjoyed it.
Absolutely. No, yeah. I definitely think you have every right to, because it's certainly, like you said, it's an experience. It's not always about the money, right?
No, it's not. I mean, people got into it for the money, and then they got into it for the wrong reasons. I mean, there's a lot of them that do, but, it's not going to be made even now. And people aren't making a ton of money, but, it's a good experience. When I first got into it, I just thought I was going to wrestle just here and there. I always had a good job, so it wasn't something I could leave or give up. I could have, but I wasn't going to do that. And, so I didn't take the chances that some did and traveled all over and, worked some of the other small shows to get your name out there. But, I was happy with doing it on the weekends and having a good time with it. When I got tied in with Rip and OVW, got to meet a ton of the WWE stars or future WWE stars that we ran shows here in Indianapolis and central Indiana. So I would, help promote the shows, take care of the ring announcing. Rip would bring, of course, the talent in the ring. And, we would have shows throughout Indiana and had a ton of talent. Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, John Cena, you name it. Anybody that was in the WWE and OVW, we had them on the shows here in Indiana. And unfortunately, a lot of people, didn't come to the shows, and even wrestlers at that time that thought, I'm not going to go see these guys. But I guarantee you now, if they would have had the opportunity to see those same wrestlers after they've been in the WWE and they were in a show here, they would go.
Oh, yeah.
It was just the idea that they thought, I don't want to say they was better than that, but, they didn't want to be, it was old school wrestling at that time with OVW. And I think everybody else was into the new stuff. So, I mean, the matches weren't high-speed matches on all of them, and, you know, a lot of, as we say, they made famous now, dives. But you know, a ton of talent. I mean, there was more talent than, you know, WWE knew what to do with.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I was thrilled to be associated with that and be in the ring, while I was ring announcing anyway, with a lot of these WWE superstars.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, I mean, like, definitely throughout your career, I mean, you were doing the wrestling, you know, you had your stints and doing other stuff, but also, you're also very well known in the Midwest as a promoter and running shows under the Pro Wrestling International name. Why did you decide
I ran...
Go ahead.
Yeah, we ran Pro Wrestling International. Dallas James, Don Parker, was my... I mean, I owned it, but he was my partner in it, per se, as far as the booker and idea man. And when we had TV, you know, he took care of TV, so I give him all the credit in the world for taking care of all that. We had a TV show that ran on Wave 27. It was 27 Alive. And since WWA, Dick the Bruiser, it was the only 1-hour wrestling show since the WWA on a regular channel. I'm not talking about, you know, Comcast Vision type show that you can only see on Comcast or Cablevision or something like that. You know, it was on a regular over-the-air show, TV station, and we had that for a year. And we had Madman Pondo. So we had his first hardcore match with Ian Rotten with us, and we had that show in Danville, Indiana. It was at the fairgrounds, and it was in one of their outbuildings, and it was the first time I think some of those fans ever seen that ECW-style match. It was a barbed wire bat match, and the crowd was dead silent because they wasn't sure what to think. Now it's a different story. I mean, Ian has his IWA, and he's got a lot of success with his shows, and the hardcore stuff has, you know, gone big, and it's kind of gone up and down different ways, but, you know, it's had great success and made a lot of stars. But at that time, the local wrestling fans didn't have a clue of what it was, and actually didn't care for it too much. You know, they were just didn't know how to react.
Definitely, and I bet that was probably kind of a shock factor too. I mean, I can actually attest to that. I remember seeing my first ever, you know, hardcore match. You definitely don't know what to say after you watch one of those.
Yeah, no, you don't. I mean, I had one, Pondo and I teamed up. I was El Diablo then, and we wrestled Ian and Bull Payne, one of the TV tapings, and it wasn't, it was hardcore, but it wasn't that hardcore. I mean, there was no barbed wire or anything like that, but, you know, chairs and everything else, so, you know, not necessarily my style, and I prefer just kind of, you know, the old school style of wrestling, and even now some of the high-flying stuff I enjoy. I've always enjoyed lucha-style wrestling, but I'm never into getting in there and getting hit with light bulbs and tubes and razor wire and all that stuff. Just, I mean, it's not the wrestling I grew up on or will be part of, per se.
Absolutely, no, I understand. You know, you see all these crazy things that may happen. I remember the first time, I think probably the first ever hardcore match I ever saw was it was Terry Funk and Cactus Jack, but I don't think his name was Terry Funk. It was probably something else at the time. But it was one of those springboard death matches where it was like the springboards with like the barbed wire with gunpowder.
Oh, yeah, that was in Japan, probably.
Yep, Japan.
Yeah.
I remember seeing one of those like in like a pro wrestling magazine or something like that, and it was just absolutely just mind-blowing. I was like, what in the hell is going on here?
Yeah, no, I've seen the video or parts of the video of it, and I mean, they're actually getting burned up. I mean, you know, just, you know, where you're peeling your skin off you from the flames and the so-called bombs off the barbed wire boards, but, you know, they're making bigger money, you know. When you're doing it for little to nothing, it makes no sense to me.
no,
But,
absolutely.
they're going to pay you thousands and thousands of dollars in Japan. That's a whole different story. But some of the stuff I see and people making $25-50, and most of them don't have health insurance. To me, it's not worth it. But I don't know. I mean, that's a whole different story. But
right, yeah.
I mean, we enjoyed what we had. I mean, and after that, I continued running shows. We had some success in Hope, Indiana, having some great shows there, and led to a couple OVW shows there where we sold out the building. We had the big show there versus Mark Henry. Brock Lesnar was on the show. Wasn't Eugene at the time, but Nick Dinsmore, Rob Conway, Shelton Benjamin. I mean, just a ton of talent on there. And like I say, if you're not familiar with Hope, it's just a small town, but it sold out the building, and the fire marshal wouldn't let anybody else in because it was at its capacity. So, I mean, we had some great times, but I've also been at shows that, you have 15, 20 people there, but you still put on the show. Those same people paid to see a show, so you still got to give it to them. Either that or, if you're a promoter and you're doing that, then you need to cancel the show. But if you're having the show, you need to give them the same show that you give them whether there's 1,000 people there.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree. So another thing with PWI that it's well known for is that it was also kind of the launch pad for a career of another pretty well-known person, R.D. Reynolds.
Yep, R.D. Reynolds actually came from, it maybe was CWF or CWA. Jeff Cohen was running some shows down at Tyndall Armory. Had Mike Samples on there as his booker. And then when Jeff Cohen kind of stepped away, they kind of quit using Randy, and Jeff got a hold of me, wanted to know about using him, and he came in with Casey, Stefan, and ended up doing some commentary, and then also RD was a manager, and Casey was a wrestler as Trash Luzigan. I think he kind of maybe was mocking Flash Flanagan a little bit at the time with the name, but they both came in, and RD is, a great guy. I mean, he used to come over, and we'd watch WWE or WWF at the time, I guess, and WCW, and we just yell switch back and forth to watch different parts of the show. But he's always been a great friend and done well in the business himself as far as writing books and his website, WrestleCrap.com. And now he has his own podcast and everything else. So, other than his real job, too, he's done very well in pro wrestling. I'm very proud of him.
Absolutely. So do you have any, funny stories about R.D. Reynolds? Anything like that?
Well, I don't know. I guess maybe I have to be careful, but, it seems every time that I work against him, and he's a manager, he ends up hurting me. In one show in Greenfield, was thrown out of the ring, and he went to kick me in the stomach and really nailed me, knocked the wind out of me, and almost couldn't finish the match because he kicked me so hard. He just didn't have he was still kind of learning, still didn't have an idea of, what to do, and in Hope, Indiana, and, he shoved me real hard. You don't necessarily have to do that. If I'm going to go, I'm going to go, and end up taking most of the skin off my knee. But so I was just kind of careful when I was with him. But he was not afraid to do something that would make fun of himself. We had a crybaby match in Hope where he had to come out and wear a diaper if his person he was managing lost. Of course he did. Come out in a big diaper and a bib and a baby bottle and everything else. And I think I've got some of the pictures floating on the internet somewhere. And an Irish Spring death match where, he had his mouth washed out with soap, some little kid out of the crowd there in Hope. And I'd say he was not afraid to make the show better by letting someone make a fool out of him. And that's the way it should be. A lot of people want to be the superstar and they want to shine and everything else. He understood it that if people people were making fun of him or he looked bad, it made the show look good. So I just wish more people were that way with it. So
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of one of the issues that you see with wrestling nowadays. I feel like people are too serious, you know what I mean?
well, the bad guys don't want to look bad. The good guys don't want to look bad. So, I mean, what do you have? I mean, somebody has to. You know, everybody's got to get their, as they say, get their shit in, you know, to look good. And sometimes I think they forget about the fans, and they're there to impress or, you know, the other wrestlers with what they've done, or, you know, kind of make it an inside joke that only they understand, and forget that, you know, they're there to entertain the fans and for them to have a good time. And there's a lot of good wrestlers out there now. I'm not saying they're not, but sometimes you got to look bad or, you know, take a beating to make the show look good, or put your opponent over, I guess. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wish there was more of that. And I had a little similar situation when just the show I did in Columbus, Indiana the other day, and it was an outside show. And unfortunately, the business that was being used, the back room was where our locker room was, but it was also public, well, not public restrooms, but they made it for the public to go back there. And when the fans were coming back there, you know, the wrestlers were still back there going over their matches and just standing by their opponents and talking. And, you know, there's still some fans that somewhat believe, or they want to somewhat believe. And when they're just standing there and seeing that, and some of them were just kids, and they were like, you know, well, what's going on? I mean, the wrestlers should know better, just to either split or, you know, head out of the locker room or something. And it just kind of, you know, disappointed me with the way things are now. That, yes, I know everybody knows wrestling how it is now, and there's no kayfabe and whatever. But, you know, don't show the person a magic trick before you do the magic trick.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. It's just the way things have changed now, I guess.
It's kind of the lost art of kayfabe, I think.
Yeah, and I'm saying it's not ever going to come back, and I'm not expecting it to, and I don't live in that era that's all there is, but there still has to be the respect aspect of it, you know, respect it enough, the business, that, you know, when something like that happens, you know how to respond and know how to act and be respectful of everybody else, I guess.
Absolutely. So kind of redirect the conversation a little bit to a little more about something that actually we saw that you posted recently, is that you actually recently posted pictures of you wrestling Bobo Brazil.
Yes, it was one of his also last matches. He was, I think, in Ohio, and he was a great guy. He let me have 95% of the match until it came down to the end, and, you know, he took over, gave me the big cocoa butt, and I sold it like a champ, and he pinned me, and that was it. But I mean, super nice guy from the start in the locker room till the end, and, you know, talked to me afterwards. So I mean, it was a privilege, and of course, you know, me growing up watching him here in Indianapolis, I was able to, you know, wrestle one of my idols here, so I was very happy and very thrilled with that.
Absolutely.
I mean, it wasn't a high-flying match because, you know, he wasn't able to do much, but you know, like I say, he let me have the match, and then he just took the pin, and he was fine with that.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I've heard a lot of great stories about Bobo. You know, a lot of people say that he's just a really great guy to work with, pretty flexible most of the time, but he's definitely a very big fan of the respect aspect of wrestling.
Yeah, and it's always great to, you know, hear a story. I think I was on a show with him and the Sheik, and just to sit and listen to their stories in the back, you know, you just learn so much, and that's where people, you know, need to just shut up and listen to, you know, the vets and, you know, hear some things. And like I was trained by Mr. Electricity Steve Regal, but I learned so much from Rip Rogers, just traveling down the road, listening to him, telling stories, talking about how to handle things and how to handle yourself. I learned just as much from that as I did from my training, and respect Rip for all that information, and very appreciative of what he's done for me, helping me out, and also getting me involved with the OVW and taking me down to WCW and all that. I mean, it's more than I could ever thank him for.
Absolutely. So, sort of to kind of wind down the interview a little bit, just kind of get some little fun facts out of you. So when people look at your career, when they look at all the things that you're doing or have done and are still doing, what do you hope they notice overall?
Well, I mean, I know people know me in, I guess, different phases. I mean, a lot of people recognize me from the hotline, I guess. I mean, I didn't talk too much about that, but had and still have the Diamond Dan hotline, 317-335-4688. It used to be on the Indianapolis Star, and that's where a lot of people was calling. We had over 20,000 callers a month on the hotline there. So they know me from that aspect. Some know me from just when I started wrestling. Some know me from promoting. I mean, I've been a ring announcer for a lot of wrestling shows now that I don't wrestle. I've done MMA ring announcing, boxing ring announcing. So they know me from all different aspects. But I guess what I hope people remember me from, and then I did a lot of training, trained a lot of wrestlers in the area here, is that, I'm happy for the people that I've trained or worked with or helped, become successful and do better than I did. A lot of people get jealous from that and try to hold them down and everything else. I mean, I'm happy when I see somebody doing well and are successful, whether, just from the area here and maybe cross paths, or if I've spent a lot of time with them, training them and working with them to make them better wrestlers. So they can remember me for, whatever they want to remember me from, but that's what I hope they remember the most, I guess.
Absolutely. That's actually something I was going to ask you about. We hadn't actually had an interview with R.D. Reynolds a little bit ago, and he mentioned to me in passing about the hotline, saying that it was still active. That was something that I had heard about because it was a little outside of my. Because I'm not like super young. I'm only 21 years old, so like that's not really something I had like super duper known well about. But David kind of mentioned to me a couple times because we talk about different wrestlers, and he had mentioned it. So I kind of want you to explain it to me and kind of explain what it's all about because I'm still a little hazy.
Okay. Well, I mean, with our hotline, it originated from Pro Wrestling International. And it was our hotline to promote our shows. We advertised it on TV, so you would call up. And I didn't do all of it, too. I mean, Dallas James did some. We kind of went back and forth. And we just, at that point, promoted our shows and what was going on with that. Then it got to the point where we weren't doing as many shows, so I started switching it to news, wrestling news, and added a couple options on there. We've had different people on there. RD was on for a while. The Livewire was on there for a while. Now, like I say, it's still went back to the original number, the 317-335-4688 number. And we have the Weekend Warrior Randy Clemmy on option number 2, and the dreaded D-Rose report on option number 3. And, we tried to update it. Not always updated daily. Pretty much it is, though, but just putting news from around the world, WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, whatever. I mean, at one point, that's where you got your news. I mean, WCW had their hotline. Of course, they were all pay hotlines. You had to pay to listen to it. Ours was always free. And when I got on with the Indianapolis Star, when wrestling was really, really at its peak, there were several different hotlines on there also, the Savage Report, and there was something else. I had Daily Wrestling Report with Diamond Dan and Ask Diamond Dan. That's where you could ask questions about wrestling, and I would answer them on there. So that's where people would be able to call and get the news and what's going on. We'd answer questions, and like I say, we still do that. But now with the internet, you can find out the news everywhere. But we still have a lot of loyal callers that call every day just to listen to see what we've got to say and our views on things. So it's probably one of the oldest continuous hotlines, wrestling hotlines in the U.S. right now, I would say. Most of them have kind of gone by the wayside, but we still do it and we still enjoy it.
Absolutely. So, kind of just to finish things up here, just want to kind of ask you a couple more questions about where fans can see you. So that I hear that you still occasionally make appearances. So, any events coming up when fans can see you?
In Shelbyville for All-Star Wrestling. They have a show on the 22nd at the fairgrounds. Normally they run the second Saturday of the month, but the local fair was there, so they had to move the date. So I'm usually there ring announcing at their show, and at HPW on the first Saturday of the month in Columbus, Indiana, where I am a manager per se, or representative down there, where they hate me. But that was my job, and that's my job, so I do it well. I do weddings. I DJ weddings. I still do some boxing occasionally for sound. We've done the Golden Gloves there with Jimmy Jam, doing sound for the last 10 years or so. So I, keep busy with that. Just trying to take it slower, but seems to pick up on time, so I'm not sure which direction I'm going sometimes. Like I say, they could always call the hotline every day and listen to that. But I try to keep my name out there a little bit, and I still get people that message me and ask me questions about shows and what they should do to promote shows. So, I still try to help out people as much as possible behind the scenes and, give them a little bit of insight and some experience to help them out. So, whether you see it online or not, I still helping people out.
Absolutely. So then, also speaking about being online, any social media where our fans could follow you or book you for an event?
You can check out on Facebook at the Diamond Dan Pro Wrestling Hotline. You can go on that, Diamond Dan Entertainment. You can check that out for any sort of DJ or ring announcing. You can book me through there. Or if you want, you can reach me at askdiamonddan@hotmail.com if you want to connect with me on there and ever book me for an event. Be more than willing to talk to someone.
Absolutely. So you guys have any way you want to talk to them, any way you want to communicate with them, and if you want to call the hotline, which I suggest you do, go ahead and call them up. Go ahead and hit them up on those social medias. But other than that, I think that about does it, Dan. I want to thank you so much for coming on here and just chatting with me, giving me a little inside look into all the information, all the cool stuff I've been doing. But again, just want to thank you so much for coming on here.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here. I'm not the greatest on these podcasts. Done a few, but not that many, so kind of get lost on them. I want to thank Dave Dynasty for having me on here. Although he couldn't show up and be on his own show, I asked him how can it be the Dave Dynasty Show if Dynasty's not on the show. But that's all right. I'm sure he saved himself for the big stars, but that's okay.
But
no, I do appreciate you having.
No, he just likes to be lazy. He likes to make his what would I be considered? I'm free labor, so he makes me do the interviews.
I understand. But I do appreciate you guys having me on here, and I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, like we said, go follow Dan on all those different sites. Check in on him. You know where to find him. You know where to talk to him. So you think you got everything you need. Thank you so much, Dan, and we'll be checking back up with you soon.
All right, thanks. You have a good one now.
Come crack open a cold one and let Old Manser tell you a story.
King of Big Dog Style, Larriton Light Beer, the King of the Trailer Court, your favorite wrestler of mine, me.
This is Warner's Wisdom with Mance Warner.
All right, people, here we go. Old Master back at it one more time on here on the Dave Dynasty Show. This is Warner Wisdom, your favorite wrestler and mine, me, Old Master, King of Big Dog Style. A new one right here. This is a new one for you. Big Dog It Cool. You get it? If you get it, that's great. If you don't, it don't matter. It don't matter. Okay. Master of the Pop-Up, Headbutt, Larrett's and Light Beer, the King of the Trailer Court, Old Master. I could go on and on and on with all these nicknames. I ain't going to. I'm out here in my beautiful truck. I'm sweating up a storm out here. It's so hot right now. Now, here, hold on here. I'm going to pop one of these bad boys open. Here we go. Don't worry. Old Master ain't drinking and driving. I ain't no dummy. I got me one of them 99-cent energy drinks down at the liquor store. At the liquor store. See, I got liquor on my. What am I thinking? 99-cent energy drink down the road at the VP. It's a Venom. Venom, rip it. It don't matter. 99 cents. I'll put you over. You send me some free crates of them bad boys. I'll put you on the intranet. Send that out there to the guys that run Rip It and the guys and gals that run Venom energy drinks out there. Okay. Old Master, this edition right here going to be a little different. It's been a horrible weekend for Old Master. Been one of the worst. I'm down in the dumps. Okay, let me rewind it and just lay it all out there for you. Okay. Old Master, Thursday night, IWA Mid-South. Hell of a contest. Buy that DVD when it come out. It was the Rejects, Reed Bentley, Murdoch, and then the King of Big Dog Style, the Southern Psycho, Old Master. Us three stepped in the ring with OI4K, the artist, Jake Chris, O. Zachary Wentz, and the Iron Manager, JT Davidson. 303 contest, anything goes. We were all over the building. Zach did a big old dippy dive off the tippy top of the arena out there onto all of us. I caught a boot right to the head, knocked me out cold. Got back in there and we all beat the bejesus out of each other. Like I said, it's going to be a great DVD. Buy that when it come out on the intro net or on the, you download it, whatever you got to do. Anywho, after that contest, Old Master headed home. Friday, I had an IWA Mid-South show. Old Master gets up. I got my gear bag in one hand. I got my water jug, my beautiful tap water. Some people say, "Oh, Master, that water jug look yellow." Why it look yellow? Ain't nothing wrong with it. It's tap water, baby. It's good for you. It's got all them minerals in there. It's got them minerals in them ions you need. You get only out of that beautiful tap water. People always go, "It look like Flint, Michigan water." I don't know nothing about no Flint, Michigan water, baby. I know about Bucksnort, Tennessee water, and it's good water. I drink it every day. Ain't nothing wrong with me yet. Now, if I die in 20 years from drinking that water, I won't admit it because I'm stubborn, baby. I ain't going to say it was that water. I'm going to say it was maybe these Venom energy drinks, maybe these Rip It energy drinks. See, that's a callback there. Y'all sponsor me. I'll be putting you over every day. Now, so as Old Master was saying, I'm had to pull over here. It's so hot, I roll the window down and sit here and enjoy my energy drink and talk to you beautiful people out there on the podcast. You can get this on the Instagram, on the Facebook, on the YouTuber, on the, what's the other one? Hey you dummy. What's that other one called? This guy looking at me like I'm crazy. I think he had that Instagram. Or it might have said something about ham. I ain't too sure over there with this guy. Anywho, okay, Old Master is walking to the front door, getting ready to leave. I got my gear bag in one hand. Old Master got his bag of t-shirts too that you could get on ProWrestlingTee.com, 1 hour tees. You go in there, put it Old Master name, Mance Warner, t-shirt pop up Larrett's and Light Beer. You be the coolest dude, lady, little kid, wherever you at. You could be at church, you could be at a party, you could be at a dance club, you could be at the laundry, you could be getting a sandwich at a restaurant, you could be at the gym. Cut them sleeves off, man. It's summertime, you don't need no sleeves. So old Messer goes heading to the front door, right? I open the front door, and I'm in shock. I'm in awe. I could barely move. Water pours in to the front door of my home. Water is everywhere. There's no stopping it. We pretty much got a flash flood that hit us, and this water barreled in my front door like my old lady after she had about 8 or 9 beers, and she mad at me, and she come swinging at me. All that water just cascaded. That's a new word for you. It cascaded through the front door into my home. And I'm in shock. I'm in awe. My eyes are all bugged out. I don't know what to do at this point. But I move swift like Jushin Thunder Liger into my living room. I get all my electronics off the floor. I ain't got a lot of electronics, but I got my N64 with WrestleMania 2000 off the floor real quick. I tried to save everything I could, and I did. I saved everything in that house, baby. But with old Messer, what happened was the water came flowing in, and it just kept pouring. It kept pouring. I got outside, waddled my way through the water, plugged into old sub pumps. I had the water kicking back out down the road. The whole neighborhood was flooded. Everybody was out there freaking out. Old Messer had to call a meeting and pull everyone together and say, everybody, old Messer had to get a little bit of Warner's wisdom out there. I had to get a little sermon to everybody. I had to put my hand on my neighbor's forehead and had to reach up to the heavens and let everyone know we're going to be okay. We're going to get through it. So for the next 2 days, old Messer spent cleaning out the home, helping out the neighbors. Had to get what's it called, a shop vac. Go over the carpet forever and ever and ever. Old Messer's out there just sweating the storm up, drinking my light beers, cleaning up the home. Had the sub pumps running, kicking out the water. But I was very, very surprised during this moment. When all that water came busting through there at old Messer, I had to get a sip here, people. All that water came barreling in there. I made sure to save my gear bag. I made sure to save my bag with all my t-shirts on it. My limited run of Messer t-shirts that you can only get at live events with my 8x10s. I got 3 different versions of 8x10s too, people. I'm always plugging, man. Okay. I made sure to save all my t-shirts. I made sure to get my gear bag. And you know what's in my gear bag, right? Dramatic pause. Dramatic pause. Dramatic pause. My beautiful boots, baby. David Lopez made them beautiful boots like he made my beautiful ring jackets. He working on some new ones for me right now. I got a blue and gold one coming. Or what would you call it? Navy blue. Got a nice red one coming. I think I may have a all black one coming. I think, no, maybe black and silver. I can't remember. I just called Lopez and we talked for a little bit. Sometimes we got heat. Sometimes we don't. It just depends what day of the week it is, what week it is, what month it is. We know each other for a long time. So, old Messer, to recap here, I didn't give a lot of wisdom here. I guess my wisdom is make sure you always got sub pumps and you know about floods that are coming. Because sometimes contractors try to screw you over, man. Or not contractors, what you call realtors. People that try to screw you over. Now, old Messer ain't going to go hit no one with no wackadoos today. Old Messer going to look up to the good Lord, look up to the sky. Old Messer's still here. I didn't lose nothing too valuable. I didn't lose, no one lost no lives. We all made it out. We're all good. The neighborhood's good. I'm still the king of the trailer court. Pulled everyone together. We all helped each other out. It is now a sunny, very sunny, bright day. The rain is gone. I can see clearly now. The old master has made it. I'm going to have a good week. You people going to have a good week. Not going to be as good as old masters, but who could say that? Who could say that it's going to be as good as old master? You know what I mean? Be safe out there. This has been another edition of Warriors Wisdom out here on the Dave Dynasty Show, the best part of the Dave Dynasty Show. Master's part on the Dave Dynasty Show, baby. Now, I'll see y'all next week. I think next week we going to Virginia. Me and Bentley. Next week old Master going to be heading up to Nova Pro in Virginia, I believe, on a Friday. On a Saturday, Master going to be in the Heartland in Indiana, out there at RCW. I believe that's in South Bend. I could be wrong. Don't get me. I mix up towns sometimes. I just forgot what I was even thinking about for a second now. Anywho, another edition of Warriors Wisdom. Manser, right here, Dave Dynasty Show. See you next week. Gonna be another great one. Everyone be safe out there. Old Master gonna enjoy this energy drink. You people share this on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, the SoundCloud. That was the other one. That guy was talking about Instagram or ham, whatever he talking about. Who knows? Okay, I'll see y'all people next time.
Hey, Dave Dynasty here for the Tommy Wildfire Rich School of Wrestling in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You know, I've spent years in the wrestling business, from wrestler to promoter, and now as the host of the Dave Dynasty Show. To be successful in the wrestling business, solid training from experienced instructors is mandatory if you're going to make it today. And that's what you'll get at the Tommy Wildfire Ridge School of Wrestling. Not only instruction from former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Wildfire Ridge, but many other big-name wrestlers, managers, and referees. And it gets better. Tommy Wildfire Ridge School of Wrestling will provide in-ring training and personal character training with all practices recorded on high-definition cameras. They have over 2 tons of weightlifting equipment and tanning beds located in an indoor sports facility that will host monthly wrestling events, bringing in names big enough to ensure that you, as a beginning student, will get seen. This school has it all. For anyone interested in the Tommy Wildfire Ridge School of Wrestling, call 336-862-5528 today. Once again, that is 336-862-5528. Ask for Chris, and you will immediately be on your way to your career in the wrestling business. Once again, call Chris at the Tommy Wildfire Ridge School of Wrestling at 336-862-5528. And welcome back. This is the Dave Dynasty Show, and I am your host, Dave Dynasty. That was wisdom from Mance Warner, one of the brightest young stars in the Midwest. Oh, Mance Warner, the Southern Psycho, King of Big. You've heard all his nicknames, right? He tells you every week. But anyway, thanks, Mance, for that. Hey, keep it, follow Mance on social media. Go out there and check him out so that you can say, I remember Mance when, because this guy's going to be a big star. He is very, very talented, and we appreciate him being an integral part here at the Dave Dynasty Show. We also like to thank Diamond Dan Garza for coming on, talking with us about his career, his days promoting wrestling, and all the various things he did. Great interview. Thank you, Dan. We have another great interview coming next week. This one's phenomenal. This one's I've been trying to work on for a while. Man, it's great. Next week we have Midwest legend Mike Snyder, former wrestler. Great interview, great guy. You may not know the name Mike Snyder. You should. You may not know the name, but I think you definitely know the name of his father, right? I think everybody, even those outside the Midwest, should know who Wilbur Snyder is. That's right. Mike Snyder is the son of Wilbur Snyder, a fine wrestler, a fine career in his own right. But he tells us stories from his career and stories of his father, what it's like being the son of Wilbur Snyder. That's great, right? I've been working on trying to get this interview for a while. So we got that next week. Phenomenal interview. You don't want to miss that one. Again, thank you for supporting. Thank you for visiting DaveDynasty.com and hitting all of our social media links, following us on all those avenues. Thank you for whatever means you listen. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate that. Thank you. And hey, go out, buy the shirts, buy a Midwest Express shirt. Let's start seeing those everywhere, right? Let's start seeing those at all the independent shows. Let's start seeing those at all the televised shows. Let's start seeing those at appearances and events and signings. Let's start showing the world what the Midwest is. And let's grow this community. Go to DaveDynasty.com, click on either the Pro Wrestling Tees link or the merchandise link, and order your Midwest Express shirt now. Let's show the world that we are united and that there's some badass stuff happening here in the Midwest. That's all we have for this week. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week with that phenomenal interview with Mike Snyder. Until then, be good, be safe, be independent, and keep on growing. We'll see you next time, fans. Thank you.